Hi, Cambridge Springs Public Library. Welcome to our summer reading program. This week's theme is fairy tale villains. Every fairy tale has a villain. They have good guys and bad guys, right? So this week our focus is going to be on the Three Little Pigs. So I have a couple of stories that I really like that I think that you guys are going to enjoy. Um, and don't forget after you watch this to go on Read Squared and complete the mission so that you can get tickets for our grand prize drawings. And don't forget, read your books. And log your reading for more grand prize tickets. We have some pretty great prizes. Ask your parents about them. Um, and and we have a craft also. So check out the YouTube channel for our craft for this week. And if you came down to the library and got our craft bag, then you have all the supplies there. If you weren't able to come down to the library, then you should have some materials at home that might work for that. And you can complete that mission and get some more grand prize tickets. Okay, so we've got a couple of books, and most of you probably already know the story of the Three Little Pigs and the Big Bad Wolf, but I have two books that that tell it in just a little bit of a different way, and I really like them. So this one is called The True Story of the Three Little Pigs. Okay. Uh-oh. Somebody drew in my book. Should we draw in books? We shouldn't. No. So. All right. Everybody knows the story of the Three Little Pigs. Or at least they think they do. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story because nobody has ever heard my side of the story. I'm the wolf, Alexander T. Wolf. You can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. Hey, it's not my fault that wolves eat cute little animals like bunny and sheep and pigs. It's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, folks would probably think that you were big and bad too. But like I was saying, the whole big bad wolf thing is all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. This is the real story. Way back in Once Upon a Time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold and I ran out of sugar. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now, this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't too bright either. He had built his whole house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in his right mind would build a house out of straw? So, of course, the minute I knocked on the door, it fell right in. I didn't just want to walk into someone else's house, so I called, little pig, are you in? No answer. I was just about to go home without the cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. And that's when my nose started to itch. I felt a sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed and I snuffed. And I sneezed a great sneeze. That is a great sneeze. Wow. And you know what? The whole darn straw house fell down. And right in the middle of the pile of straw was the first little pig, dead as a doornail. He had been home the whole time. Well, now it seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner lying there in the straw, so I ate it up. Think of it as a big cheeseburger just lying there. Oh, I was feeling a little better, but I still didn't have my cup of sugar, so I went to the next neighbor's house. The neighbor was the first little pig's brother. He was a little smarter, but not much. He had built his house of sticks. I rang the bell on the stick house. Nobody answered. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? He yelled back, "Go away, Wolf! You can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin chin." I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. I huffed and I stuffed and I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. And you're not going to believe it, but this guy's house fell down just like his brother's. And when the dust cleared, there was the second little pig, dead as a doornail. Wolf's honor. Now you know how food will spoil if you leave it out in the open, so I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. Oh, I was getting awfully full, but my cold was feeling a little better, and I still didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. So I went to the next house. This guy was the first and second little pig's brother. He must have been the brains of the family because he had built his house out of bricks. I knocked on the brick house. No answer. I called, "Mr. Pig, are you in?" And do you know what that rude little porker answered? "Get out of here, Wolf. Don't bother me again." Rude. Talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't even give me one little cup for my dear, sweet old granny's birthday cake. What a pig. I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of a cake when I felt my cold coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I sneezed once again. And then the third little pig yelled, "And your old granny can sit on a pin." You guys. Now, I'm usually a pretty calm fellow, but when somebody talks about my granny like that, I go a little crazy. When the cops drove up, of course, I was trying to break down the little pig's door, and the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing and making a real scene. Oh, boy. The rest, as they say, is history. The news reporters found out about the two pigs I had for dinner, and they figured a sick guy borrowing a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting. So they jazzed up the story with all that huff and puff and blow your house down. And they made me the big bad wolf. That's it. The real story. I was framed. So maybe you could loan me a cup of sugar. What do you think? Do you believe it? Do you believe he was framed? Or is he really the big bad wolf? Well, now, this is a little different. And it is the three little wolves and the big bad pig. Oh, I've never heard this one before. Have you guys? Let's see. Once upon a time, there were three cuddly little wolves with soft fur and fluffy tails who lived with their mother. The first was black, the second was gray, and the third was white. One day, the mother called the three little wolves around her and said, "My children, it is time for you to go out into the world. Go and build a house for yourselves, but beware of the big bad pig." "Don't worry, Mother, we will watch out for him," said the three little wolves, and they set off. Soon they met a kangaroo who was pushing a wheelbarrow full of red and yellow bricks. "Please, will you give us some of your bricks?" asked the three little wolves. "Certainly," said the kangaroo, and she gave them lots of red and yellow bricks. So the three little wolves built themselves a house of bricks. The very next day, the big bad pig came prowling down the road and saw the house of bricks that the little wolves had built. The three little wolves were playing croquet in the garden, and when they saw the big bad pig coming, they ran inside the house and locked the door. The pig knocked on the door and grunted, little wolves, let me come in." "No, no, no," said the three little wolves. "By the hair in our chinny chin chins, we will not let you in, not for all the tea leaves in our china teapot." Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down, said the pig. So he huffed and he puffed and he puffed and he huffed, but the house didn't fall down. But the pig wasn't called big and bad for nothing. He went and fetched his sledgehammer and he knocked the whole house down. The three little wolves only just managed to escape before the bricks crumbled, and they were very frightened indeed. Oh dear. We will have to build a stronger house, they said, and just then they saw a beaver who was mixing concrete in a concrete mixer. Please, will you give us some of your concrete? Asked the three little wolves. Certainly, said the beaver, and he gave them buckets and buckets full of messy, slurry concrete. So the three little wolves built themselves a house of concrete. Well, that's pretty strong, right? No sooner had they finished than the big bad pig came prowling down the road and saw the house of concrete that the little wolves had built. They were playing battledore and shuttlecock in the garden. When they saw the big bad pig coming, they ran inside their house and they shut the door. The pig rang the bell and said, "Little frightened wolves, let me come in." "No, no, no," said the three little wolves. "By the hair on our chinny chin chins, we will not let you in, not for all the tea leaves in our china teapot." "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in," said the pig. So he huffed and he puffed and he puffed and he huffed, but the house did not fall down. But the pig wasn't called big and bad for nothing. He went and fetched his pneumatic drill and smashed the house down. The three little wolves managed to escape, but their chinny chin chins were trembling and trembling and trembling. "We shall build an even stronger house," they said, because they were very determined. Just then they saw a truck coming along the road carrying barbed wire, iron bars, armor plates, and heavy metal padlocks. "Please, will you give us some of your barbed wire, a few iron bars, armor plates, and some heavy metal padlocks?" they said to the rhinoceros who was driving the truck. "Sure," said the rhinoceros, and he gave them plenty of barbed wire, iron bars, armor plates, and heavy metal padlocks. He also gave them some plexiglass and some reinforced steel chains because he was a generous and kind-hearted rhinoceros. So the three little wolves built themselves an extremely strong house. It was the strongest, securest house one could possibly imagine. They felt absolutely safe. The next day, the big bad pig came prowling along the road as usual. The three little wolves were playing hopscotch in the garden. When they saw the big bad pig coming, they ran inside their house, bolted the door, and locked all 37 padlocks. The pig dialed the video entrance phone and said, "Little frightened wolves with the trembling chins, let me come in." "No, no, no," said the little wolves. "By the hair on our chinny chin chins, we will not let you in, not for all the tea leaves in our china teapot." "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down," said the pig. So he huffed and he puffed and he puffed and he huffed, but the house didn't fall down. But the pig wasn't called big and bad for nothing. He brought some dynamite, laid it against the house, lit the fuse, and what do you think's going to happen? Do you think they're going to lose their house again? Oh, the house blew up! The three little wolves just managed to escape with their fluffy tails scorched. Oh boy! That pig is big and bad, isn't it? "Something must be wrong with our building materials," they said. "We have to try something different." But what? At that moment, they saw a flamingo coming along, pushing a wheelbarrow full of flowers. "Please, will you give us some flowers?" asked the little wolves. "With pleasure," said the flamingo, and he gave them lots of flowers. So the three little wolves built themselves a house of flowers. Guys, they used bricks, they used concrete, And then they used armor and barbed wire. And do you think a house of flowers is going to stop the big bad pig? Let's find out. One wall was of marigolds, one of daffodils, one of pink roses, and one of cherry blossoms. The ceiling was made of sunflowers, and the floor was a carpet of daisies. They had water lilies in their bathtub and buttercups in their refrigerator. It was a rather fragile house, and it swayed in the wind, but it was very beautiful. The next day, the big bad pig came prowling down the road and saw the house of flowers that the three little wolves had built. He rang the bluebell at the door and said, "Little frightened wolves with the trembling chins and the scorched tails, let me come in." "No, no, no," said the three little wolves. "By the hair on our chinny chin chins, we will not let you in, not for all the tea leaves in our china teapot." "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down," said the pig. But as he took a deep breath, ready to huff and puff, he smelled the soft scent of the flowers. It was fantastic, and because the scent was so lovely, the pig took another breath, and another. Instead of huffing and puffing, he began to sniff. He sniffed deeper and deeper until he was quite filled with the fragrant scent. His heart grew tender, and he realized how horrible he'd been. Right then, he decided to become a good pig, and he started to sing and to dance the tarantella. At first, the three little wolves were a bit worried. It might be a trick. But soon they realized the pig had truly changed, so they came running out of the house and started playing games with him. First they played pig pog, and then piggy in the middle, and when they were all tired, they invited him into the house. They offered him tea and strawberries and wolfberries and asked him to stay with them as long as he wanted. The pig accepted, and they all lived happily ever after. That's a pretty nice story, huh? The villain turned out to be a friend when they just figured out what he needed, right? He just needed to be filled with the fragrance of lovely flowers and have friends to play with him. It's a pretty nice story for today, isn't it? All right. So don't forget to hop on Read Squared and do your mission and do our craft and read some great books, guys, and enjoy the sunshine. I miss you guys an awful lot. Let's do our closing. Tickle the stars, tickle your toes, turn around and tickle your nose. Reach way down low, reach way up high. Story time's over, so wave bye-bye. See you guys.